All right, Grunts, welcome to another live. Got a special guest tonight, so you might recognize him. We're going to talk about some radio stuff, comms, shit hits the fan, and average Joe stuff for us dumb grunts. So, welcome to the stage, my buddy Jared. How you doing, man?
Hold on, man.
No, you hold on.
I got too many tabs open. There we go. Everything was echoing. What's
All
going
right.
on, buddy?
Hey, all right. So you guys might recognize Jared, 2 Alpha Solutions. He's been on the Seer Challenge, all kinds of chats with Brent and other shenanigans we've done. Do you want to tell people about your are you a sad ham?
I'm a ham, but I'm not a sad ham.
Okay, so you are a licensed operator.
Yeah, I'm licensed with a FCC call sign. I have my general license. I also have my GMRS license. Um, I've been doing radio stuff. Started off with CB when I was a kid, 12, 13 years old. I think it was 17 or 18 when I got my ham license in 94, so I would have been 18.
Cool.
So
Do you want to put
yeah,
your call
so
sign out there? Some people might want to hit you up. If not, that's
yeah,
cool.
it's in 3 RWZ. I'm not shy about it. You can look me up, and um, it's on QRZ. I have my QRZ pages up for anyone that's familiar with that. It's a radio website for most of the licensed hams out there.
So what level are you?
General class. So there's for the amateur radio, there's 3 levels. 3 levels now. There's the technician, the general, and the extra. And each one gives you different band privileges.
Yeah, I always thought it was backwards. I thought general should be first and then technician, but maybe I'm the weirdo. Because
Yeah, back
technician is the first
back in the
level,
day,
right?
it used to be technician's the first level. Now, back in the day, it used to be the novice was the first level,
Hmm.
and they started changing it around the mid '90s or so, early '90s, mid '90s. Things started to change. There used to be a Morse code requirement. There's not anymore. So anybody can test without getting their Morse code requirements or anything.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what the older guys, the older comms guys in the military pick on us for. They used to have to do that. Um,
Yeah.
and they had to be able to encrypt their radios themselves. We just got the ANCD in the Army, and then later this key loader for the 152s. Do you ever mess with those, the key loaders for our
No,
encryption?
I never messed with them. The only comms I ever did in the military was all with sat phones. We didn't actually have radio phones. It was all satellite communication stuff, all handheld stuff that we used.
Cool.
And it
Yeah.
was
So
pretty dummy proof, pretty foolproof what we did.
yeah, I mean, for the military, it has to be because you're not everybody has a an expert out there to be able to fix stuff. Like I was, typical infantry stuff. They make the new guys either be the saw gunner or the RTO. It's your radio telephone operator, and so because nobody wants to carry the older Singars, so
Because
I
they're big
showed
and
up.
heavy.
Yeah, I showed up and got handed an M4, and I was like, "Oh, sweet!" And then they were like, "Here's a radio, dude." So I actually got pretty comfortable with it. I could troubleshoot a Singars, and then later the 152 handhelds, no problem. Um, and then once we switched to the key loaders, changing ComSec every 3 days where we were, you start having issues, and that's a fucking bummer, man. You'll get your ComSec put in and get it all checked out, and then you roll out and out there on mission for whatever reason, a couple people drop it, and now you're not talking anymore. All right, so let's talk about. I want to mention. If you guys haven't seen it, I shared it. Jared built like his own freaking basically radio station where he's at. You can see in his background, but tell us about that monster tower you got.
So yeah, that was a project that took about 2 years, working on it off and on. I put up a 100-foot tower here in my shop, or just outside of my shop, and built my little radio room, YouTube room, office inside the shop here. So I have VHF and microwave capabilities on it, UHF. In the springtime, when the weather breaks a little bit, I'm going to put some HF beams up there. I do have an HF wire antenna out there right now too.
So what do you mean by microwave?
Just the frequency band. I'm on 1.296 gigahertz or 1296 megahertz.
Okay.
Pretty, it's real high frequency. It's almost line of sight. There's times when it's not, and you can get a little bit more distance if the atmospheric conditions are right, but it's pretty much point to point line of sight. And it's just another band of frequencies that is allocated to amateur radio operators, and it's pretty close to what your Wi-Fi routers use in frequencies, depending on what it is. Some of them are 2.5 gigahertz. Some of the other routers are 5 gigahertz. So it's just a little bit below that, and just above the cell phone band as well.
Oh, okay. So is there one antenna that can talk on everything?
No.
No,
you pretty much have to have separate antennas for everything. Now, when you get down in the HF frequencies, my one wire antenna that I have, it'll cover 80 meters through 6 meters, which is 3 megahertz through 50 megahertz. And you have to feed it a certain way with a ballon, and you have to tune it also. There's an internal tuner on the radio, or you can use an external tuner to be able to tune it and make it match just right.
Yeah. So is that what you're going to test out for the upper licenses? Or is that like the knowledge you're supposed to know, or do you get that from your club or other experts?
You mean as far as the HF frequencies go?
Well, you're talking about tuning and all this stuff in like, meters.
No, so let's start with the tech license. So the tech license, you're pretty much limited to VHF, UHF frequencies. You can do some of the HF frequencies. You don't have voice privileges down there, so to speak. On the 10 meter band, on 28.3 megahertz to 28.5 megahertz, a tech would have voice privileges on sideband, or any other voice mode. But the higher up you go in your amateur radio licenses, through tech, through general, through extra, the more HF high frequency privileges you get. So you get those. So when you say HF frequencies, it's called high frequency, but it's the lower bands of the amateur radio allocation.
So below VHF and UHF?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how far down does high frequency go? Is that like your
down
30,000?
Down about 1.6 megahertz.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty low. I can't remember the exact frequency.
So what would be the benefit of that bandwidth?
1.8 megahertz.
Wow.
Just longer range.
Longer range?
Longer range, yeah.
Because
so
it's
at
a shorter
nighttime,
wave.
No, it's a longer wave.
Longer, yeah, but like the dips in the wave are more spread out, or they're more condensed?
Correct. They're more spread out.
Okay, and that's long wave. Okay.
That's long wave. So consider a sine wave. You know what a sine wave looks like? You have the peak that comes up, and then it goes down and back and comes back.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's what you call that. Okay.
Yeah, that's called a sine wave. So for the 160 meter band, one sine wave is going to be 160 meters long.
Oh, that's where the meters come from. Oh.
Yes, the meters is actually the length of the frequency of that one sinusoidal frequency.
So why? Okay, so see, that's why guys like me get confused, because I've read the stuff and I've talked to some of the club guys, and you just explained it better than like any of the shit I've looked at. Like, why don't they just say
I think
like that?
Because they think you're going to understand it, because they have an understanding of it, and they don't teach it the way they should. You know, I'm not the greatest teacher. I can't even talk half the time, but I could at least explain to you what a sine wave is, and that the length of that sine wave is 160 meters. So like the 2 meter band, 144 megahertz, that one single sine wave is approximately 2 meters long.
Okay. So that's where we'll hear like 2 meter, 10 meter band and stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. Yep. So when you get up in the UHF, like 440, 450 megahertz band, they start talking centimeters there. So one sine wave of, say, we'll just say 450 megahertz is 70 centimeters in length.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, let's cover that. Let's cover that license. So I've seen the pool of questions. I actually went and tested last year just for the hell of it. Failed miserably. I think I got 50 something percent, but I was like, okay, I know what I should work on. So a lot there's a lot of people that are like, well, it's. I think most people agree it's ridiculous to need a piece of paper to operate a radio. But why don't you play the rat hat and argue what the benefits would be?
Of having a license.
Yeah, getting a license.
Um, so if you don't have a license and you get on the ham bands and try to talk to somebody, they're going to figure out pretty quickly that you don't have a license, and they're not going to talk to you. To be able to effectively use radios and communicate with them, you have to get out there and practice with them, whether it's in the shack here doing what I do here, or taking a handheld out in the field. You have to practice with them, and you have to have somebody to talk to. So if you're not licensed and you're trying to talk to somebody on a ham band, and they're not going to talk to you because they're going to figure out that you're not licensed. I don't know if you can get in trouble for talking to a non-licensed person. I think you can.
There's some people out there in the comments. They'll say the FCC will friggin' fast rope down to your house if you push the
Oh
button.
yeah, they're gonna send the FCC SWAT team to get you, and they're gonna be busting in your windows, and technically, realistically, they don't care. From what I understand, there's only 5 enforcement officers nationwide for the FCC, which is nothing. And I could be wrong. I don't know. That's something I heard. As long as you're not interfering with amateur radio bands, you're not interfering with public safety, police, fire, EMS, and military bands and whatnot, they're really not going to look at you very much. They're not going to really care until they start getting complaints.
Yeah, and then they're pretty much just depending on self-reporting. People actually reporting that there's some nefarious shit going on.
Correct. Yeah, I mean you're going to get those sad hams out there that are going to track you down and report you, and then the FCC is going to send you a letter saying, "Hey, stop! Don't do that again." And if you continue, they're going to send you another letter that says, "Hey, stop! Don't do that anymore."
You get an angry letter.
They might do that. Yeah, you're going to get a mean letter.
Oh, okay. So it is Tuesday. My local club. Well, it's too early. My local club every Tuesday they do a net call, and if you care about the law, like you can listen on all this stuff all you want. Like I've got mine programmed. I think Jared, you checked what I had out programmed. You're just not supposed to push the button. All right. I mean, realistically, most of us don't care. But so Jared, are you going to report me if I push this button?
Oh, absolutely.
We'll do it. I got in trouble for handling my weapon live. Let's see if I push the button live.
Right.
Oh, it's off. The sad hands. Oh, I'm not transmitting. I'll leave it on. Maybe somebody will start talking.
Right.
All right. So the benefits could be that you get to practice without having people yell at you.
Correct. So if you want to start getting into some digital modes on HF or even VHF, UHF, some of the programming and the software, you have to have a call sign that you enter into it when you first register it to be able to use the software. So if you want some kind of, I don't want to say encryption because you can't use encryption on amateur radio.
Why not?
they don't allow it. It's against their rules
Hmm.
for amateur radio. But you could use digital modes, and there's different modes out there that you can use that you could type on your computer, send a message over the airwaves. Say I wanted to talk to Stoker down south. Him and I could sit there on a computer, type back and forth to each other, all without the internet, all doing it over HF frequencies. Or if
Have
you
you
had
actually done that
your
before?
licensed.
You actually talked that far across the country?
Yeah, I'm just now starting to get into the digital stuff a little bit, and one of my local friends here has been helping me with that and trying to get it all set up. I am not a computer person, so I have to have a lot of computer help when it comes to that stuff. Some of it can
Well,
be
have
pretty
you heard of
tedious.
this? Have you heard of this Rattlegram app?
I've heard of it. I haven't looked into it. Basically, it just encodes your voice into like tones and whatnot,
Hmm.
and then the receiving radio. You have to hold your phone up to the receiving radio as it's coming out of the speaker of your phone.
Yeah.
The Then the receiving radio decodes that. It's not really encryption. That's more of a digital mode.
Yeah, it's kind of
Because
like just
anybody
some kind
can.
of program noise or something that the
Pretty
app on
much,
the other
yeah.
side can denoise it.
Right. It's just a mode of operation on a frequency like AM is or FM sideband.
So I wonder if that's allowed on GMRS because I have my GMRS piece of paper.
I believe it is because it's not encryption. It's just encoding. There's a difference. As
Oh, so
long
you
as
could do
anybody
that. You
can.
could use that on the ham stuff too.
I believe so. Yeah. I
Wow.
don't see why not. But
So what counts as encryption then that you're not allowed to use?
end to end. So
Well,
if
how would you
if
encrypt a radio? Like if we're talking on the Baofengs on UHF, how would we encrypt that?
you can't do it on the Baofangs, the radio has to have an encryption module or software put into it. The Baofangs
Oh,
aren't.
okay. So like those fancy Motorola's, I see the Fire National Forest
Yeah. So
guys
if you
with.
have
Ah,
a big
okay.
fancy Motorola portable like this is an XTS 5000 with AES 256 encryption in it, and that's end to end user encryption. So the only people that would be able to hear what I was transmitting on that is the other person on the other end that had the encryption key to decode that on their radio. So that's actual encryption there.
And you're not supposed to use those on the ham bands.
Not the encryption part. No, I can use that radio on the ham bands. Yes, I can't program the AES 256 encryption to transmit on the ham bands.
So, but is it possible? Like, could you use
It's possible,
those
yes.
radios encrypted and talk through a repeater,
I
or does
don't
the
know if the
repeater have to be set
repeater.
up?
I don't know if the repeater would be able to pass that through.
Hmm.
That I don't know. I know like public safety repeaters and public safety systems, those can. Whether a regular amateur radio repeater can, I don't know.
Yeah, most of the government agencies near me, they're on VHF for whatever reason. But um, what's the big deal with that? So let's dummy it down. VHF versus. So most people have these. All right, this is the standard radio. I know
Mm-hmm.
you're cool with them. The Sad Hams,
Yep, got one right here.
it's their favorite radio in the world because it's the best in the world. Um, but you got UHF and VHF on here, so dummy that down. And what's the point? What's the benefit to each one, and why does it matter?
Um, so the VHF that we'll call that the 2 meter band for the amateur radio stuff. Um, that can go a little bit further in distance, depending on terrain. It doesn't go through buildings quite as well, where UHF will go through buildings, but the range on it is just a little bit more limited. So
Okay,
the higher in frequency you go, the more line of sight radio waves become.
and so buildings that would also foliage and mountains, treetops and stuff.
that can all affect how the radio waves spread out and get attenuated and decrease the signal.
So if you're using VHF where you're at with a 100-foot tower, theoretically, how far could you talk?
So on sideband on 2 meters VHF, I talked to a guy in New York just a couple weeks ago. And
Damn.
that's 100 foot. That so there's also the way your antenna is polarized as well. So you have vertical and horizontal polarization. So typically anything sideband is typically going to be on a horizontal plane. The reason they do that, there's a little bit less noise floor whenever you're horizontally polarized. Most radio interference is vertically polarized.
Okay. Why does that matter? I mean, yeah, what is that?
So if you have a higher noise floor, it's going to be a lot harder for you to receive signals in the weaker signals. So if you have a lower noise floor, you're going to be able to hear those weaker signals and be able to communicate with them a lot easier than if you have a higher noise floor.
So, like, is that is that related to squelch at all? Noise floor?
No, not at all.
Okay.
You can squelch out the noise floor. Um, you can turn your squelch up and get rid of that noise floor, but the noise floor is still at the same level.
Okay.
So it's
And
kind of like being at a rock concert and having to shout and scream to be able to hear over it. And then being in a nice quiet room and you're able to talk at normal voice.
oh, okay. I thought your power would override that. But you're talking about receiving, huh?
Well, it depends on the transmitter's power level. So if you're putting out 100 watts, you're going to be able to overcome that noise floor out to a certain distance better than if you're putting out 5 watts.
Okay. Dang, man. So that's pretty cool. VHF with the tower, you're talking that far. So there was
Right.
probably other people listening to those calls, huh?
Oh yeah, I'm sure there
There.
was.
And
I'm sure there was.
your SDR thing could have people could use that to hear where that's coming from or
Yeah,
see that.
so I have this little, I don't know if you can see it or not, SDR, RTL SDR. They're like 35 or 40 bucks on Amazon. It comes with a little kit, little antenna kit and everything. I could plug that right into my phone with an adapter and put the antenna on the end of that and be able to listen to anything that I don't know. I don't remember what the frequency range is on this. I don't even think it says on here. I don't remember. But you can pretty much listen to anything that's out there on that little dongle.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What's Yeah, so you were using that in a seer challenge, and that was pretty cool. I showed it in one of the earlier episodes. You could see anytime somebody was talking, you could see that jump up, and then you basically just would scroll through to try to zero in on it. So, were you able to listen to us talking on that device, or did you go find out which frequency we were on, and then program your radio to that?
Both. So at first, whenever I used that to find the frequency you guys were on, and I was able to confirm that it was you guys talking. And once I found out that it was you and I could see what frequency it was, then I programmed couple of these Baofangs that we had out there. I programmed that frequency into that Baofang.
But you could walk
So,
around with the SDR and that antenna you had and like an earbud, and you could listen to the conversations.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So how would somebody try to defeat that? Like
As far as
let's say we wanted to defeat your SDR.
you would have to find a band of frequencies that is not used very much, that's not common, and just take a kind of a crapshoot that we're not going to find you in that frequency.
That might be helpful. Well, I mean, we're using the GMRS stuff, so yeah. So I guess if you just want to chat with somebody on not a private network, but a frequency that nobody in the area is using, you could use that device too to see what's not being used.
You could, yeah. You'd have to sit there and monitor it for a long time because if nobody's talking at the moment, you're not going to hear anything.
Yeah.
Um, but I kind of knew the frequency band that you guys were going to be using, so I just started scrolling through the spectrum display until I would see a little peak on the spectrum scope. I'm like, oh, there's a nice strong signal right there, and I would tap on it, and it would take me to that frequency, and I'd be able to listen. And I'm like, oh, that's not them, that's somebody else. And I'd see another one come up, and oh, there's Tom talking, the Randall, and Randall's talking back to Tom. Now I know exactly what frequency you guys were on.
Shaya. So that will work, locating encrypted radios too, like those Motorola's. You just won't be able to hear what they're saying, but you'll see
Correct.
that people are talking on it.
You can see the people talking on the spectrum display, but you will not. You'll hear noise, but you won't be able to understand what they're saying because it's just going to sound like digital noise or static or whatever. But it'll sound different from everything else around it.
Is that the
So in
same
that case,
device that you can triangulate and find somebody?
you could. It'd be a little difficult with it, but it can be done. You can get a directional antenna, like a Yagi or some kind of a beam or a loop antenna, and be able to pinpoint a fairly generalized area or direction that they're coming from and get an azimuth on that. Then you can change your location somewhere else and do the same thing, get an azimuth on the strongest part of the signal. And you want to do that 3, maybe 4 times. And pretty much where all those lines, those azimuths cross, is going to give you a pretty good idea of where that transmitter's coming from.
It's kind of like intersection resection and land nav.
Yeah.
So how I seen I think the Ham Crash Course dude and not a Rubicon. I saw them do something like that, but they were in the suburbs. How hard would that be to find a dude out there where we do the SEER challenge?
Oh, it'd be pretty easy. If they were talking on the radio constantly out there, and not just intermittently, you could get a pretty good idea of where they're at within probably an hour, depending on how far you wanted to move for each one to get each one of your azimuths, and how often that they're going to talk. Because if they're only talking for 30 seconds once every hour, it's going to take a couple hours to get an exact location. Not an exact location, but a fairly good idea of where they're coming from, where their signal's coming from.
Yeah, that'll be a fun experiment, and that'll be fun for you guys because you guys will probably be able to try to find the guys that way. I think that'll look cool. And instead of trying to give sit reps and help you guys out, I think that'll be a cool addition to how you guys actually do your missions. Because then you can actually feed warning and frag orders based off of like you and your SDR. You can be like, hey guys, I got activity in this direction now, so we can shift the patrol that way. I think that'll be pretty fun.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if we're out there and say I'm at the listening post with this SDR and a directional antenna, I can get an azimuth, and then I can go to another location, get an azimuth, and then we could send a team or split the teams up a little bit and say, hey, you go over here and you go over there, and we're just going to start converging on this area. And then I can move closer in with the SDR and get a better idea where they're at. So the closer you get to a transmitter, the higher the signal is going to be on the meter, or it's going to show up stronger on the spectrum scope, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys were 130 yards from their OP, so that when they were talking, it was fucking jumping up.
Well, yeah, I mean they were right there, so it was a nice big strong signal.
So that's kind of cool. With looking at the screen, you can also already kind of estimate distance from that based on the signal coming in.
To a degree, yes. To a degree.
So then, really, for us Joes, the only way to defeat that is to maybe have a decoy radio somewhere else transmitting on different frequencies to throw the operator off, seeing all these different things. Um, there's a we called it the redneck. What do we call our encryption? Frequency hopping. Yeah, ciphertext frequency hopping, and we would call it a poor man's version. So you could another way to not defeat it, but kind of give you the operator a harder time is change frequencies all the time. So
Correct.
you might notice a pattern every 30 minutes. You're seeing other frequencies pop up. So you could say, well, they're going to come back to this one because they're rotating. So I'll just sit on this one and wait. Or you could just watch the pattern, see which frequencies keep popping up because, you can program thousands of freaking things in here. So eventually, you can't use them all. So eventually you're going to figure out which ones people are talking on. But is there any way to block that at all? Like conceal what we're, our well, no, we can't conceal our transmissions, but is there any way to block your device?
Yeah, but you would also be blocking yours as well. Unless you had a transmitter that was really close to us, that was kind of lower in power, but it was overpowering what I was receiving from the contestants out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it. So basically, if somebody's on the run, if we're talking about the doomsday stuff and all this prepper stuff, um, if you know somebody has a device out there, unless you're trying one of these apps that scrambles your stuff or you've got your own encryption, you're kind of screwed.
Correct. And nothing on the airwaves is 100% guaranteed, not guaranteed. Somebody can always listen into what you're saying. The biggest advantage that you would have is using AES 256 because it would take a quantum computer. I think somebody said a quantum computer a million years to figure out the exact cipher key that you're using.
Yeah.
It's exponentially. It's like hitting 1+1 and continuously hitting the equal sign on your calculator. After a while, it just kind of goes into error mode. So it's really not. It's not practical to break AES 256 encryption, but you can still triangulate and radio direction find the signal for it.
Right. That's the problem. Yeah. People can still pick up the transmissions, whether they can hear them or not. So then it might be more effective for you to just try to jam the other side's comms. So is there a little
It
device
could.
what you like what you have? Is there something that size that just jams frequencies in the area?
You could make something. There's other devices that are like this. They're a lot more expensive.
What are they using? You
Um,
know what they're using in Ukraine? Because I heard they got some jamming stuff going on.
and as far as jamming, I don't know what they're doing over there. I know they have some mesh networks going on over there, and we have a lot of mesh networks here. There's Meshtastic, which I'm trying to start to get into a little bit.
Yeah.
Amateur Radio has Arden, which is a mesh network, and
what is the mesh network thing? I was looking at one the other day. What is that?
it's basically a little board, kind of like this SDR, that you can send text messages through completely off grid. You're not relying on internet or cell providers to do it. It does it all through this mesh network.
So
Um,
similar to like a Wi-Fi or something, your own little
they're
private
they're
network.
yeah, it's a private network, basically Wi-Fi without the internet. It's not connected to any kind of infrastructure at all, so it's very private.
Hmm.
And you can
So
set it
that
up
would
where
be good, like for where we're at.
it would be, yeah,
What
it
kind of
would be.
range can you get on those?
Some people are getting 20, 30 kilometers with it, depending on the setup and terrain and whatnot.
Dang.
So
And what kind of frequencies do those operate on?
some of them are 800 megahertz. I think there's some in the 900. I can't remember. 2.5 gig, 5 gig. They're higher frequency, and I think there's some down in the 433 megahertz in the UHF band too.
Wow. Might have to try to get one of those and try it out one year for the SEER challenge, and then we just got our own
Yeah,
shit
I think
going
it'd
on.
be pretty cool. I don't know if I'd have the infrastructure in place for it for this year, but it's definitely an option for being out there.
So there's like little devices like that you put in your laptop or your phone. Is there like a main hub network, like what would be an antenna or something, like a repeater to spread out everything?
You would carry your little device. That some of them are called. I can't remember what some of them. LilyGo is one of them. WizBlock is another. They all put out just milliwatts of power, but you can connect your phone to them. There's an app called Meshtastic that you can download to your phone, and from what I know, I'm just trying to get into it. You can send text messages, and all these different nodes or these little devices that you have out there connect all together. You can set them up to all connect just to themselves and nothing else.
And so I could
So
just
we
pull
could
out my phone and just send a message to everything on that network.
correct, yeah. As
That's
long
cool.
as all those little devices are connected to each other out there, so we can go out and put 10 or 12 devices out there in the AO and be able to text message everybody or each other.
Oh, okay. So you figure out the range of each device, and then you just have multiple devices all over the place, and they're all acting like repeaters.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why they call it a mesh network. It's like a big spider web. It's all interlaced. Each one connects to each other. So you'll have one here that's connected over here, and both of these are connected to this one, and then everything passes through.
That's kind of how those trackers work that we use. You know you can send text messages to those trackers.
All those Gotellis or whatever they are.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you've seen. Did I show you the app it uses? Because I know.
Yeah, just briefly.
All right. Yeah, that's actually not a bad system. It's a shame there's no American companies that are doing that, because it connects to your phone with a Bluetooth, and then you got an app, and then it talks to the satellite to get the position, but they talk to each other with Wi-Fi, just like our drones. So you got either
Okay.
the 2.5 or 2.4 gigahertz or the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and so that's why we can see all of them. But if somebody's in a deep freaking gulch and you got that mountain there, it's not going to go through that. But as long as you can see somebody else's tracker on your thing, that it's actually picking them up and they're talking to each other, you
You'd
can
be able
send a
to
text
connect to them.
message. So, like, I think when I went to meet you, I couldn't talk to our HQ guys when I was meeting you. I couldn't hit them with the radio, but I could send them a text message through the Gotella, telling them that I
Okay.
was meeting up with you. That was pretty cool. Interesting. There's a lot of shit to play
Yeah.
with. So now,
I
if you
mean,
got this,
there's so many endless possibilities with all of this stuff. I mean, there's just so much of it out there, and some of it's well known, some of it isn't. I've just recently, in the past 6 8 months, found out what this Meshtastic is and all these nodes and everything. And I'm not an internet computer guy, so I always thought a lot of that stuff was just for computers.
yeah, well,
I'm
that's
a little
cool,
bit
man. I
more
mean,
old
you're gonna,
school.
yeah, you're gonna have a phone with you anyway, almost everybody. So that's kind of
Correct.
cool if you can drop the radio in that case. So now, can somebody use your SDR or something similar and listen to what people are saying or doing on this mesh network, or at
That I
least
don't
see that
know.
something's transmitting?
They might be able to see the transmissions of it on the spectrum scope. I don't know that they would be. I doubt that they would be able to decode. Excuse me, decode what the actual text message is, because you would have to have an app, the Mestastic app, to be able to decode everything.
Okay, and there's probably some kind of encryption on those too, right?
I believe so. Yes. Well, I think you can
Or
have it both ways. I think you can have it encrypted or not encrypted. And as long as you're on the commercial side of Meshtastic and not the amateur radio side, you can encrypt it.
Yeah, because I can imagine if, like, you're in our area, you got all these country people that might get into that stuff. So if all of your neighbors, a mile away have this mesh-tastic thing and there's no privacy or encryption or whatever, then they're all just talking to each other. And that sounds cool for like your neighborhood watch type setup. Everybody can just text each other on the whole mountain. But it also sucks if you can't have any kind of privacy between households.
Right. And I wouldn't worry too much about privacy on it, because that's a whole other upper level stuff that not a lot of people are going to have out there.
It looked pretty pricey too. That might be what's keeping people away.
Meshtastic isn't really that pricey. It's some of these boards are only $30-$40 a piece.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to get multiple devices and actually try to set up a network,
Yeah, that's when it's going to get pricey for you.
yeah, compared to a $20 Baofeng, and you can just start talking to people like
Correct.
illegally, but it's possible.
Who cares?
So with the newer technology, let's talk about. I don't have Stokers; it's by the window, but let's talk about these things. We just did a pretty cool test with these. You want to tell people about these rapid radios? People
Yeah,
might know them from. They might recognize them from the Instagram ads.
right. Yeah, they're all over Instagram and Facebook right now. So I could pick this radio up here right now, and if you had LTE service, I would be able to talk to you.
Well, I got it on by the window. Try it.
All right, Randall, can you hear me on the radio at all? Am I coming through? Test 1, 2, 3.
No, it's not connected.
Yeah, you're probably not connected there.
But if you guys are curious, we all did a check. I went out to the mountain where I can connect to the towers, and we all did a radio check across the country. It was pretty cool. So tell us how it works, Jared.
Yeah, so these are basically cell phone radios. Um, it uses the cell phone network, so I can talk to you out there in California, and Stoker down in Georgia, all from right here. All three of us can talk across the entire country together. Um, it's called push to talk over cellular. I can't talk. Um, so as long as the cell network, LTE network, is up and running, and you have a connection to it, we can talk to each other on these all day long. So with these radios, it uses, I think, the three main providers for cell: AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, I believe. And if it can't get into one network, it'll switch over to the next available network, or the next closest network.
Yeah, that's like how Google Fi works. I use prepaid for my phone, and Google Fi does that. It'll just use whatever network is out there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a cell phone with that's a radio, push to talk radio, that will do roaming. So if it doesn't do one network, it'll go to the next or switch to the next one. The only problem I have with these radios in this company is the way they market it. Their marketing for it is pretty sketchy.
Oh yeah, that's why I didn't want to buy them.
Yeah. The concept of it has been around for a long time. It's like back in the day when we had Nextels and whatnot. I used to have Nextels when I worked for Motorola.
Yeah, and
We had
all
them from the
my
company.
all my redneck buddies in the late '90s had these like cat phones, and it had a push to talk feature. It's like now you can download apps like that on your phone, and it's irrelevant today because like when we talk in our Signal group, you just hold the freaking mic button and you send out a voice message. But back in the day,
Exactly.
there was a button people would push on their little Caterpillar redneck phone, and it was basically a radio going through their phone.
Right. And you have there's an app on my phone here right now, Zello. I use it to,
Zello, yeah.
yep. I guess, let me see.
Yeah, that came on all my
It
tough
has
phones that I got.
yeah. And that Zello app is pretty much the same thing as this.
Yeah.
Except you're just using one service provider, whoever your service provider is.
Yeah. Another thing with these, so I get the point. Like if you're, it's kind of like the old people phones. Old people, you can buy them these Nokia flip phones now, and they got the giant numbers because they don't want
Yeah,
the smartphones. So it's cool just to have a push to talk function. And if I get tired of fucking smartphones, I would gladly go to something like this. But like you said, it's kind of sketchy marketing because when I saw the Instagram stuff, it was like no subscriptions and no monthly fees. And it's like that ain't possible, okay?
right. So
Because
yeah, they have a yearly fee.
right, and which is a subscription. It's $50 per radio per year. Okay, so they set me up with mine. But oh, and there is an international version, by the way. I'm going to try to get them to hook me up with that. But then it's $100 per radio per year. Okay,
Right.
so they sent me two radios. You know, if I spend $200 in a year to be able to talk to you guys just for fun, that's not terrible. But you know, in the context of how they market them, like emergency radios, well, why do we have the amateur radio guys? Because the grid usually goes down. I know a lot of towers they're getting really good with that, how they can keep them up during storms and stuff. But you know, you have to be connected to a network, and so like where I'm at,
Correct.
that's I had to. You, I don't know if you saw my. I don't think I saw you. My sent you my video, but I sent it to Bill. Dude, I'm out there in fucking this winter storm we're having out there where Clinton escaped, just getting fucking pissed on and high winds, trying to get service to talk to you guys. That's a no go for me. When I can talk to basically anybody with this, you know.
Yeah, as long as somebody's on the other side of either one.
Right.
Yeah. No, these I think are great. I think it's a great family radio if you want to pass these out um, to your family members, to friends or whatnot. But it is infrastructure based, you know. So if their infrastructure goes down for whatever reason, these are going to go down too.
Yeah. And there is an encryption on it. That's kind of cool. But you know, it's a shame also to get them programmed. They program them for you. So that's why I can see the Instagram ads and Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm.
Most of that's marketing for the older folks. You know, I'm not judging, but my generation's typically not buying shit from Instagram and Facebook ads. Well,
Correct.
the dummies are, but I'm not. So I can understand it because they're like, yes, an emergency radio, no service and all that, and it's programmed for you. Okay, cool. That's good for the older people. But how hard is it to put one extra antenna on it and a little bit of radio technology so I could talk to a radio next to me? Because me and you and Stoker, we could talk across the country because Stoker sent his radio to me in the mail. Mine won't talk to you guys. I'd have to send it into the company to get them to program it for me. Um, and I got mine and Stoker's sitting here. I can't make them talk. It's really shitty.
Right. Yeah, because you would have to call Rapid, whoever they are, and have them add that to the group. So
Yeah.
there's no user friendly way to make them talk. You have to do everything through the company. So they're in reality they're able to control these radios. So you don't always have complete control of these radios because they can program them through the LTE network.
Yeah. So if I wanted to get mine programmed to Stoker's, that also means I got to drive out there to the hill to get connected for them to actually do that. So
Correct. Yes.
if I try to do that, I might just mail them back to them. I might just mail them back to them anyway. I don't. It was cool to talk to you guys. I think you're over 3,000 miles from me, but it was a cool test. But I ain't fucking driving out to the hill. I could do that with my phone if you guys want to talk to me. Randall, go get signal. Got it. Hop on the quad, get out to the hill. We can make phone calls. I can send you signal messages, and then I ain't fucking bringing an extra device with me.
Exactly.
And Signal's supposedly end-to-end encryption too. So
right. So everything, pretty much everything I believe on push to talk over cellular is encrypted in some way. I don't know a whole lot. I mean, that's way above my pay grade. But pretty much everything out there, two-way on the network, is encrypted in some form. I think Stoker was saying that this is AES 256 encrypted. I don't know if it is or not. There's different levels of it. And I can't remember what they are off, but there's so many different kinds of encryptions out there too.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, what should people how should people get started in all this if they want to be able to talk to people, whether for fun or for possible grid down shit going on?
Well, it depends on what their end game is. If they just want to be able to talk back to their house, to their wife or their family while they're out in town getting groceries and something happens, the network goes down. I mean, these are fine. But you have to have an end game of who you really want to talk to on the other end. You're just not going to get a radio. You're not going to get one of these from Amazon, take it out of the box and talk to somebody on the other end. It doesn't quite work that way. You might get lucky and find somebody, but you have to have some kind of knowledge on what frequencies to use, what frequencies are being used out there, what the correct frequencies are. If you find the sheriff's office out there on a frequency on your Baofeng and you start talking to them, they're going to show up at your door pretty quick.
Hey, well, most public service is encrypted anyway these days, right?
Yeah, some of it's encrypted. A lot of it's P25 digital. It's a digital DMR type mode. So it's pretty hard to get it into those networks.
Yeah, and that's not I don't think that's really a Karen sad ham situation. I think that's because you really do have dickheads who would try to just play death metal through the radio on public service
Right.
stuff and fuck with emergency services. And
Right.
I'm okay with the government not stepping in with that. I would be okay with, an ambulance driver calling me saying, "Hey, we can't talk on our radio because fuckface is out here jamming our signal." I'll say, "All right, Jared, find this signal and we'll go kill the motherfucker." I think that would
exactly.
I think that would be a fine way to go, and it would stop that shit. But
right.
now
You get a home invasion, and all of a sudden the sheriff's office can't talk on the radio on the way to the home invasion, and somebody dies. I mean, that's not cool.
Yeah,
that's not cool at all.
All right, but let's just say I want to get into radio. Like, are you cool with the Baofengs? Are you into those at all, or what kind of stuff?
Yeah, I got 4 of them here. I mean, I think they're a great radio. There's a lot of people out there that want to hate on them, and whatever, hate on them. I don't care. I can hate on Kenwoods, and I can hate on Motorola's, and you can hate on anything out there.
But you're an actual ham guy. So why do you like them?
I like them because they're cheap. It allows people, the general populace out there, to have a radio and be able to learn how to use it properly. There's some etiquette that you need to do, and it keeps you in contact with who you want to be in contact with. Am I going to talk across the country with this, or am I going to talk across the county I'm in here in Virginia? No. But I can't even talk to my buddy that's 2 miles down the road on this radio on his portable, on his handheld. And if he's on his portable at his house and I'm on my radio that's on my big tower, then yeah, I can talk to him. But portable to portable, I'm never going to talk to him that way.
Right. So do you suggest people go get their license so they can practice?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, get your license. It's for some people it's hard, for some people it's not. There's always going to be someone out there. $35. Yeah, same as the GMRS license. Now, whatever. Usually, you take a license test through an amateur radio club because they
Yeah.
have volunteer examiners and everything. Sometimes the club will have a fee, just kind of help support their club, in addition to the $35 that you have to pay to the FCC. But by getting your license, it's going to allow you by law to be able to get on those frequencies and talk and start using it and learning how to use it. And then other people that you make contact with out there, the other amateur radio operators, will want to talk to you, and then you can start the learning process at that point. That's how you learn. Taking the test, memorizing questions and answers doesn't teach you anything, but it's a gateway to allow you to start learning.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. The hand club in my area is really cool, and you're looking at the pool of questions. And during the COVID stuff, I got to try it online. That did not seem to be a norm. Taking your test online, and there was 3 proctors, and it was more serious than any test I've ever done. But looking at the pool of questions, I just with my radio experience, looking at to get your license, it's not going to teach you anything about actually turning it on and programming it and talking to people. It was all like voltage and amps and watts and a lot of technical stuff. There wasn't really anything about programming a radio and pushing the fucking button, like stuff you do in the field to operate the radio. So
No, you're not going to
that's
get any of
why,
that with the ham test at all. You're going to
right?
get some electronics theory, you're going to get some radio wave
Yeah,
propagation theory, and you're going to get the rules, the
yeah,
laws.
and that's
That's
all
all
the
you're going to
stuff I
get.
failed.
Yeah. And that's all you're going to. There's no way for amateur radio to tell you how to use this radio compared to this radio compared to the 152s or anything like that. There's thousands of different types of radios out there. They all operate similarly, but they all have their own little modes of operation, different menu options, and so on and so forth. So for an amateur radio test to teach that, it's not really practical. That's not what the amateur radio test is for.
Yeah, and so I would suggest, and you can talk under somebody else's license if they're with you, right?
Correct. So if you wanted to talk on the radio on an amateur radio and you were with me, you could talk under my call sign as a third party.
Yeah, that's what our ham club does. They also do off-roading trips, and everybody talks under the licensed dude's call sign. So I think that's cool as hell because you're doing off-roading trips, you're practicing land nav, and then you're also getting real world comms experience. And you can actually see the theory in practice. Like, yeah, this is why, this power is this way and this wattage. And it's like, because grunts, when you say, well, this is a 5 watt radio, and I'm like, put that into distance for me, and they're like, well, I can't because of fucking mountains and all this other shit happening. And it's like, so it's
Five, 5 watts out in the open is a lot different than 5 watts in a urban area.
yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah. And we've got those GMRS, the Baofeng GMRS. I think they're 5 UV5G or something. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's also another way to go, guys. Like I got my GMRS license just to not be harassed. And they made it cheaper now. I think that's $35 too. And it's like you can talk all you want on there. There's no test. You just go pay and you can talk. And it's like people get upset about that when I say it, but it's like you could do whatever the hell you want. I mean, you're not gonna have helicopters buzzing over your head if you're transmitting illegally, but I would suggest people actually get into the world for the experience and meeting educated or like-minded people. Like, sure, there's some fucking sad hams out there. We see them on the YouTube comment section every day, but You know, Jared's a ham guy, and I don't think he's a sad ham. So
No, I don't care what you guys do out there. To be honest, I mean, everybody's an adult, and you're responsible for your own actions. And whatever happens to you, it happens to you. That's up to you.
yeah, and
You
I
know,
would
I'm not going
suggest,
to report anybody. I don't care.
yeah, and I would suggest people get into the world to talk to people like you that can explain stuff for us dummies and actually show us shit. Like you actually set up the 152 I got. This freaking TRI. I'm gonna grab it by the antenna. Look, I'm doing it. The 152. You had to set it up for me because I just couldn't get the goddamn headset to talk.
Right. And all it was a setting inside the radio.
Yeah,
And I'm actually going to do a video series if I can get some time to myself. I'm going to do a pretty in-depth video series on these TRI 152s, on how to set them up, how to program them, different settings in them. And I'm going to do it's probably going to be 4 or 5 videos at least. I just have to find the time to be able to sit down and do it. I have
you gotta do a video.
I have the manual. I have the manual printed out here right now, and I'm basically going to go through the manual and do a step-by-step how-to on this radio.
Yeah, because it took me a long time to set mine up, and then I would accidentally delete or reset the damn thing.
Yeah,
it does not.
These radios suck to try to program. It's awful.
Yeah, and you know the Baofeng has their own little 152 that is a lot cheaper, and I think I would suggest people go with that because you can use it with that program on your computer. Chirp.
Oh, the Chirp, yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't work with Chirp.
No, the Tri PRC 152s do not work with Chirp. As of last time I looked, I think the TCA 152s do. Don't quote me on that, but I think I've heard that the TCAs do work on Chirp.
Yeah, but I mean the cool thing about it is it is like military tough. It's waterproof, rugged. You can use the actual 152 components. You can use the 152 batteries. That's kind of cool. But I'll tell you what, guys, I had a 152 in Afghanistan. These don't operate like a 152 at all. Because if you can operate a smartphone, you can operate a 152.
Yeah.
But this
all this is a regular radio with some fucked up menus in it and a 152 case.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's tough as hell. That's kind of cool.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's all metal, and at least that radio part of it is. You know, and I have this set up to where I have an external antenna on my plate carrier. I can take the 6-pin audio connection. I have it set up for my helmet with the down lead and put it on a push to talk and everything. Where the microphone and the audio from the radio is going into my ear pro. I think, well, when I was out there for the SEER challenge this past fall, I had the regular military handset connected to the 152.
Yeah, you sounded like a freaking pilot.
Yeah,
that's cool though. You can take the old school hand mic and put it in those. That's badass.
Yeah, I mean, it worked pretty good, I thought. I mean, at times I had a hard time. I don't hear very well. Too many guns, I guess, over the course of my life. But if there was any kind of background noise, I had a hard time hearing on the handset, especially if we were on the quads or something going down the road. I just couldn't hear unless I was actually pushing it right up against my ear.
Yeah. You know, with our old helmets, we had just a one attachment for our chin straps. And when I was RTO, that's how I carried my hand mic. I'd strap my hand mic in my chin strap, so it was right there in my ear. Because otherwise, you wouldn't hear anything. Because we didn't have these cool headsets. Right.
And now they have all these different Bluetooth adapters. I don't know if it'll work for the 152s, but I know they have. I can't remember what they're called now, but they have Bluetooth adapters that work on these Motorola's. To where you can use earbuds or some kind of other Bluetooth device on it. So, and I have these, what are they? They're called Shock, I think. I use them for my phone, but I have them connected here on the computer right now. So anything Bluetooth can be connected to them.
So you don't have a favorite radio that you would push onto somebody?
No, not really. I mean, just get a radio. I mean, Baofengs are great because they're cheap and they're disposable. If you break it, you buy another one and you don't cry. If I drop this down in the ravine at the Sear Challenge, and I'm out $700-800,
Yeah.
and I might cry over that one a little bit.
So what about let's say somebody doesn't care about the ham license and they're just a bunch of people out in the mountains that want to get prepared. What can they do to get going? Just to get some bow fangs and start talking to each other and setting up their own little network and stuff.
Get the Baofangs. Pick an FRS frequency where you're not going to bother anybody. There's a list of FRS frequencies that are part of GMRS. It's all UHF stuff.
Family radio service.
Yeah. And there's another one, MERS, and I can't remember what the frequencies are on those. That's VHF. I think it's 151 something or other.
So why does that not affect other people though?
Because those are frequencies that are allocated just for unlicensed use. They have other restrictions as far as wattages and antennas, but who cares? But those are frequencies that you're not going to bother the side hams on. You're not going to bother public safety on. You're not going to bother aviation on. You don't want to get on a radio and start causing public safety issues.
Yeah, like I said, the public sector in my area, they use open VHF. So like the Park Service, you can look this up online. I forgot the website, but you can look up all the frequencies the government uses in your area online, and you can see if it's encrypted and all that. But where I'm at, the Park Service, it's VHF and it's open, and that's kind of cool because you can listen to some stuff every now and then. But yeah, you wouldn't want to be talking on there.
No, not at all. I mean, you could. I could make this wherever my Baofeng went. There it is. I can make this talk on any of those frequencies. I could talk to my police department on this frequency or on this radio on their frequency if I wanted to. It's not something you want to do though.
Aren't the MERS and FRS? Don't they limit those by wattage too?
Yeah, they're limited to I think a half a watt. I think MERS and FRS you're not allowed to have a removable antenna, like these Baofangs have. You can take the antenna off.
Yeah, that's why you're not supposed to transmit with those on GMRS too, right?
What do you mean?
Like,
you mean
the AM guys say you can't get a Baofeng UV5R and talk on GMRS frequencies.
That goes into type acceptance. Every radio,
you really seem like you care about that.
Yeah, I really don't care.
Your first non-sad ham, guys.
Get a radio and talk on it. Just pick a good frequency, that's all.
Which you would kind of want to do anyway, because you don't want to be interfering with people and you don't want them interfering with your shit either.
Yeah, exactly. It goes both ways.
So like in our area where the Sear Challenge is, half a watt is not even big enough to get outside of that area.
No, I mean, we have problems with 5-watt radios out there sometimes.
Yeah. So if we're like if somebody's around their properties in the mountains or in the woods or around buildings, half a watt, at least you might have your own little kind of fake privacy based on power issues. Because if somebody's talking on your freak all of a sudden, then at least they're pretty dang close to you.
Exactly. They're within probably within a mile of you.
Yeah, and if they're hearing you and you're transmitting at half a watt, they're very close to you.
Exactly.
Getting out through the trees and shit.
Right.
So then, and then you got the what they call it privacy. We like, I know it's not privacy, but what about the CT, CSS, and DCS stuff on these Baofengs? Is that
So
useful at
those
all?
are those are PL tones. So when those were first developed, they were developed by Motorola back in the 50s or 60s, and they called it private line. And it's not private. So if you ever hear somebody say private tones or privacy tones, PL tones, there is nothing private about it whatsoever. All it is a tone, a subaudible tone. Subaudible meaning you can't hear it, but your radio can. Um, that one radio is going to transmit while you're talking. They're going to transmit that subaudible tone underneath your voice. The other radio is going to hear that subaudible tone and break or open the squelch up on the receiving radio. So if it doesn't have that subaudible tone, that private line tone and privacy tone, if it doesn't hear that, it's not going to open the squelch for you to hear what the person is saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So so if I have CTCSS on, whatever the tone I
Mm-hmm.
choose, and somebody else is out there on the same frequency but not on the same code as me, they will hear what I'm saying, but when they try to talk to me, I won't hear what they're saying.
Exactly. So there could be 100 other people out there trying to talk on the radio, and unless they're transmitting their subaudible tone, their privacy tone with their transmission, you are not going to hear them. So you're not going to know anybody else is out there talking on the radio or and possibly listening to what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're not worried about other people listening to what you're saying, it could be beneficial because you're just blocking out all their bullshit.
Right. If you don't care if you don't care that they're hearing what you're saying, but you don't want to hear them, it's great. That's fine.
Okay. So
But
for people just turning radios on and playing with them, it's privacy in the sense that you can just cut out other people's shit. But what if you're talking at what if they're talking with high if they're talking on high powered stuff? Is it going to interfere with your transmissions at all?
it could block out what you're trying to hear from your teammate if they're overpowering them, and it's going to kind of come in like a garbled mess, and it's going to block out what your teammate is saying, just because it's kind of bringing in their signal with your teammate's signal. It's trying to receive two signals, one stronger than the other, but the stronger one does not have the subaudible tone. It's still going to block out your teammate's signal.
Okay. And that's kind of a bummer if you don't have all your radios programmed with those codes, then you're not even going to be able to talk to each other. You'll be able to hear each other, but they won't all be able to talk to one another.
More or less, yeah. So anytime I program frequencies into the radios, I never put PL tones in.
So now
Um,
with your SDR, when you were listening to us, did those codes did it show you we were talking with different codes, or did it not
no,
matter at all? You just heard us
it do,
talking.
it doesn't matter because I can hear everything that you're saying because I have my side open PL is what we called it in the Motorola world. It's an open PL, meaning there's no PL tone on it on the receive end. So if I don't have that receive PL in enabled on the receiving radio, I'm going to hear everything, which is beneficial because it lets you know if there is somebody else out there on the frequency that's using the frequency, and if you wanted to move to a different channel, keep them from interfering with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a hold of one of those SDRs. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, they're all over Amazon. They're, like I said, they're pretty cheap.
Yeah, and it seems like there's only ways to mitigate the damage done by them, but it doesn't really seem like there's a way to hide from that stuff.
No.
We'd have to. I wonder if we could get a mesh net thing set up before November, and then you can see if you can pick that up on the SDR. That would be cool.
We could try.
I mean,
Try to do that.
if one or two devices is that cheap, I'll get a couple of them.
Yeah, let me do some more research, and I'm sure there's somebody out there watching that knows a lot more about it than I do, that can help us out. So if you want to give us your knowledge on it, my email's on my channel page. Just shoot me an email, and we can connect somehow. And so I could learn something about this Meshtastic stuff and mesh network stuff.
Yeah, well, we're only in March, so maybe by then you might have some suggestions, some companies you
Yeah,
think
we might
are
be able to get something
worthwhile.
set up. Might be able to get something set up.
Yeah, because that would be kind of cool. You know, we could. You're already spying on us with the SDR, so it'd be cool to try a mesh network with the contestants out there and see what you guys can do with that. That would be fun.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I know. Are you seeing the delayed comments too? Are you seeing them much later than they pop up?
I'm not sure. I'm seeing comments. I haven't really been watching them though.
Okay, because when I notice when I'm in Brent's chat, I'll see them extremely delayed, like from 10 minutes beforehand, and I don't know if he sets that up on purpose or what.
No, they're coming in pretty quick. The
Oh,
ones here,
all right,
the
Brent
one that
must
just
have
showed
them.
up from Cypher was at 21/19/29. So it's pretty much right on.
Okay, so I was right. I had a delay set, and he said no, so he's lying. He has a delay set. Because I was the last time we talked to him, I was seeing comments from fucking 40 minutes prior. I'm like, dude, what the hell?
I just
So
see a comment here from Cypher, I think. It
yeah,
says
you
my
saw that?
email.
Okay.
Yeah, he says my email's not on my channel. It is there. Oh, let
Cypher's
me
drunk.
let me pull my channel up here. I think you have to go to the about section.
Got some gun
There it is.
questions for you.
I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, my email is jpearsall, JPEARSALL 34 at gmail.com. So I don't know if we can put that in the chat or anything.
Well, do you have a website? Two
I
Alpha
don't
Solutions?
know. I
No?
don't. I had Facebook up until today, but whenever Facebook dumped everything today, I lost my Facebook page.
Yeah, I'll copy and paste his email in there in a minute, guys. I gotta find it. You gotta pull it up.
Every time I try to put my email in a comment, YouTube nixes it somehow. I'm sure it's a YouTube bot that doesn't allow it.
Yeah. Oh, I had been sending emails to your other one, the first one you talked to me with. Okay. J.
Which,
It is the hoof prints thing.
oh yeah,
That's the one you initially wrote to me with. So that's what I
I
was
think I
set
just
up
changed
for
the
you.
main name of it. I think that it should be J Pearsall at jpearsall 34 at Gmail.
Yeah, there it is, guys. So
There you go.
if you want to hit Jared up, he's also a firearms instructor. So if you got some firearms questions, but very knowledgeable dude. You're like the cool nerd that doesn't annoy people, and we get
I'm
to give
pretty
you
quiet.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I give it right back.
yeah, I know, but like, you know, we're in this Sear Challenge group. Well, now it's just a everything group, but yeah, Jared's like the quiet one. When we're sitting around, everybody will yell at him, and he's just kind of sitting there taking it in, and it's like, this guy's probably going to kill us later. And then you just start coming back with stuff, and we're like, whoa, shit, okay, there he is.
Like, damn, I hurt their feelings again.
Yeah, I know. Fucking you and Tom are gonna have to go at it one day. It's that op
What was that
four
this
contestant relationship.
what was that this morning? First thing I started on them about the all the cock cities going across England.
Yeah. So this guy wants to know Opinion on the Scar 17.
I have no experience on the Scar 17.
That's the big heavy one, right? We're trying to get for the
Yeah,
military. It costs too much. It costs the taxpayers too much. I'll just say that. I never even seen it, but it costs too much.
it's a lot of money.
Fucking A, man. We replaced the M14s and got the M4s and M16s and all that cool shit. Yep, great. Ammo's lighter and cheaper. And now we're fucking around again. Where's all this money coming from? Imagine if our DOD budget reflected how broke our country is. We would have AKs and flip flops. That's all we would
Well,
get.
Biden will just print more money so we can get anything we want.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous, you know. I was always, when I was active duty, you know, my family would be like, "Oh yeah, the Democrats don't want to give you a raise and give you extra budgeting." And I'm just like, we got enough money. It doesn't get to me in my paycheck, but you know, at least on the Army side, like it's like the Army generals we're drunk on funding, and then they just fucking set it on fire. You know, buying stupid shit like the Army UCPs, greatest uniform ever.
$5 billion down the drain.
I would, you know, I'd be willing to bet the sad hams, they also hate me because I hate the UCP, the Army UCPs, because the sad hams seem to love ACUs.
We need to come up with a meme with sad hams and UCP. Sad hams wearing UCPs.
Yeah. And yeah, being on the butterball side.
Yeah.
Well, see, your radio bunker is above ground, right? You're not underground.
Unfortunately, it's above ground. Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't have the funding to put it all underground yet. Someday when I'm rich, I will have one of those.
Well, once you do go underground, that's when you will turn into a sad ham. That's what does it to you.
Is that? Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, these guys are underground with like
Then
lead fucking plates and never get any sunshine.
right. So let me show my radio setup here. If I can get the camera to stretch over here.
Yeah, what? Hey, Jared, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's yeah, that's a good idea, man. Give them a tour of all the fucking cool shit you got, and I'm gonna go pee on my bushes.
All right. So we'll start right here. So this is a Kenwood 710 DG. I can't read it. That's UHF VHF. You can do APRS with it, which I haven't gotten into yet. This one's a Yaesu FT991A. It's HF, VHF, UHF. I use it mostly for VHF FM work. Just kind of local stuff. It's 100 watts. This is a 2 meter 440 and 1296 radio. This is a ICOM 9700. This is one of my HF radios that does the lower frequency things. And this over here, my cord won't stretch all the way over. It's basically the same radio, just an older version. It's a 7600. Does the exact same thing this one does. So those are the 5 radios I have set up in here. Then I have 2 linear amplifiers. This one here is 1,000 watts, and this is a 2 kilowatt one, or legal limit rate linear amplifier. And then they're all connected to the tower that I have outside that's set up. Let's see. Somebody said they have a 7300 also. Yeah, it's a pretty badass radio. Was that DJ in there? I can't. Comments are going by too fast. How tall is my tower? It's a 100-foot tower. If you go to my, there's DJ in there. If you go to my channel, I do have about a 20-minute long video showing my radio setup in the tower. The tower, actually, I fabricated the base and everything for it to where I can lay the entire 100-foot tower flat on the ground. I have a a falling derrick is what they call it, with a cabling and system on it. And my buddy brings his tow truck over, and we use the big winch that's on his tow truck to raise and lower the tower down. It's pretty cool. So you have to check out my channel. It's probably like the third or fourth video down there. So there's not a lot on my channel, but that's a good video I put on there up there. Let's see. Cypher, yeah, JS840 every Thursday. I think that's the GhostNet. Is that what that is, Cypher? Paw Patrol. I don't know if I can scroll through these comments or not. Yeah, I can. There's DJ. What's up, buddy? Have I ever participated in GhostNet from Cypher? No, I have not. I've heard of it. I think it's from S2 Underground. I've never done that yet. Maybe one of these days I'll get there and do that. Get a hammer and shortwave. What's a good beginner base station? Depends on what you want to do. If you want to do HF work, on the lower frequencies, the 7300 is a great radio for that. They're pretty cheap comparatively. You can find them on eBay and Facebook Marketplace anywhere from $700 to $1,000. But that's the ICOM 7300. And how to Rubicon is hilarious when he destroys sad hams. Yes, he is. I love it when he does that. I saw something about Invis antenna. Invis antenna setup is good. Go down. Yeah, so Invis is a good thing. That's more of a regional Invis. What is it? Near vertical incident skywave antenna. That is good for regional within a couple hundred miles. So if I wanted to talk to somebody in West Virginia or up in New York, that's a good way to do it on HF, and not have it go across the country or even across the world. You made it back, Randall.
Hey guys, is anybody watching on Rumble? We're supposed to be live on Rumble too. Somebody let me know if that's working. I forgot about that. Because Rumble it doesn't work with this. It doesn't work with any of these streaming softwares. Nobody likes them, but you got to put in like I don't think it's working. Dude, I'm out there pissing and I hear like a radio playing down at my gate. So I have to go kick out some campers, maybe.
Was it the radio Bill lost a couple years ago?
Yeah, it's still out there playing FM radio.
Right. Hey, I'll be right back. I gotta go now.
Well, hey, we're gonna wrap it up, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for coming on and sharing your knowledge with us. Guys, Jared's been around for 2 years. Did the SEER challenge and firearm instructor. Now he is a radio expert, and he's not a sad ham. So probably
I'm not a radio expert. I like to play with it and use it, but I am not an expert in it.
And, yeah. So if you guys want to see some cool stuff, go check out his channel, because he's got some firearms content, but he's also got some cool comm stuff up. And are you going to get on that TRI thing? Show us how to program it.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do that here fairly soon before I get really busy this summer. So hopefully in the next month I can start getting some videos out on that.
Awesome. That'll be helpful.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably see you back for the next SEER challenge, huh? Another bad guy.
Yeah, I'll be another bad guy out there.
Outstanding.
Planning on coming back for round 4.
Good deal. I'm gonna go shoot some meth heads, and we'll be in touch, guys. Take care.
Sounds
Thanks for
good.
joining us.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again, go a little more in depth into maybe some different topics with it.
Yeah, sure thing, man. All right. See y'all.